I'm going to press that. So now we're recording. Okay. So once again, my name is Bea Chatfield, and I am the project manager for Boston Parks. This project, we've had a number of public meetings where we have discussed the design development, and we have heard from many of you that there was a lot of interest in a full court basketball. So we have done a number of different designs, and our most recent design involved full court basketball. And we are here to show you today how that design has progressed, the different ways that we are responding to your comments. And I'm going to pass this off to the designers. So I'm here today, sorry, with Kyle Zick and his team, Danielle Desilets and Rob Barella. So I'm going to pass it off to them now. Okay, thank you so much for coming. And at the end of this presentation, we are going to take comments and we'll have more of a discussion. So if you have any thoughts right now, put them in the Q&A. We'll respond to them at the end. Otherwise, and you can raise your hand and I will unmute you. You allow yourself to unmute yourself and then you can talk. So thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Bea. So I'm Kyle Zick with Kyle Zick Landscape Architecture. I'll walk you through the current design for the whole park, and we'll also zoom into each part of the park to give you more detail, and I'll just get to it. You all know how to use Zoom, I hope. You can raise your hand and we'll call on you. You can also add questions in the Q&A. And if you're joining by phone here, you won't be able to see this, but you can dial *9 to raise your hand or *6 to unmute or mute. So the whole park is defined or bounded by Smith Street and Tremont Street, the Basilica to one side, St. Alphonsus Hall, the Tobin School, and the Parker Hill Library. We're going to talk about the park in 3 areas: the ball field, the playground, and the passive park. Changing your orientation, looking at the park directly from above, because we'll have diagrams that look at this way as well. Tremont Street now is on the bottom, Smith on the front or on the top, baseball field, play area, and passive site. All right, so the existing conditions include a good-sized playground, a number of trees in the upper terrace and into the playground, and the Little League baseball field. The design we'll talk about today encompasses all those different areas. Starting at Smith Street and the ball field, there'll be an overall renovation of the Little League field. So that'll include redoing the turf, the infield, and bases, pitcher's mound, all that kind of thing. We'll have an outfield fence, which is different. It'll be at 200 feet, which is what's typical for Little League and for softball. There'll still be the access gate for maintenance, and we'll leave a gap before that fence meets the wall, just so that for maintenance, but also if someone is walking through the field, they have different opportunities to travel through the space. You'll also note in the outfield, we have a fitness area. We heard, there is a lot of activity in the neighborhood in terms of using this as a walking route or running route, and some of the play equipment has been used for fitness. So we see an opportunity to actually formalize and have a fitness area that would have stationary equipment for pull-ups and push-ups, that kind of thing. Another improvement along the driveway here is to add a separate sidewalk, so you don't have to walk in the driveway from Smith Street to the ball field, outfield, the fitness area, and then to the playground level. That will include improvements to the access to the field here at Smith Street closest to the school, but also a new ramp and stairs with new seating behind the backstop so that people could observe the activity on the field and also travel along the edge of the field here, protected by a fence that's being moved from the back of this walk to the field side. I'll go more specifically into the playground and the passive park, but I wanted to give you a sense of how that all worked together. So now the passive park. Tremont Street is on the bottom here. This is an existing condition. The playground is more toward the upper part of the page. The Basilica is on the left and the library is on the right. So this park, as its name implies, the passive park, it's not active. This is a place to sit on a bench, enjoy the view, eat something, converse with people you know or not. And there's a walkway that goes to the center of the space and also from the center of the park. And then there's an accessible route that takes you to the lower level, and there's a connection over to the library. There's seating around this large tree, and there are benches in other locations here. What we have proposed is very similar. It's not a big change in terms of its personality or characteristics, but there are things, some improvements we're suggesting. So overall, we're maintaining the existing trees and we're adding trees. The walkway system is pretty similar. So there's 3 ways to get into the park, and there's 3 ways proposed. So the central access stays the same with that semicircular fence and the arch, and then a central walkway that leads to stairs that go to the playground. There is still an entrance closest to the church with an arcing walk that has benches along it with some new trees. We've removed that central island with shrubs to improve visibility and the view shed to the different levels. And that really formalizes this as an overlook. You can view down to the playground, and then there'll be a connection to the amphitheater, which I'll describe more later. The seating in this location, we've pulled away from the tree for the long-term health of that tree, but we still want to make sure that we have the access to shade. So we have different kinds of seating here. We have benches along the edge, and then some tables and chairs, which could be used for games or eating food or just hanging out. And there still would be an accessible route that would take you to the lower level. The other thing to note is that the fence and piers along Tremont Street, we will repair and refurbish. This is a view. If I go back for a second, the view is, if you're standing here looking in this direction. So you have a sense of the walkway, the expanded pavement with the different types of seating, tables and chairs or seats, and then the bench along the edge here. Here are the stairs in their current location, but that opening is widened for the amphitheater. And then you get a sense of some of the other benches that are in the other part of the passive park. We shift to the playground level. This is a view from above of the playground, the existing playground. So you have 2 basketball hoops in the circular space, the splash pad, play equipment, and a lawn here. And this is the stair I mentioned that connects the passive space to the playground. And this is the church. The last meeting, we showed you 2 options for the playground, and they both had basketball components in addition to the play components. And the comments we heard were that they really should have full court basketball here, but it feels like it's not integrated with the play, and some of the play felt like it was a little disjointed or disconnected. So just as a little bit of a review, we had a large play area, a splash pad that could be also like a gathering space or performance space, amphitheater seats next to stairs, some pavement game, flexible space, and then 2 half-court basketball areas. And then with the existing trees, we had a seating grove. And what we called option B, still the same thing, stairs, amphitheater, splash pad, and then play area that was 2 to 5 age, swings, and 5 to 12, and then the full court basketball. What we heard from you all, this was a little disjointed and didn't feel like the best location. So we've studied putting the basketball court here, and that's what I'll go through next. So just for orientation, there's the stairs in the amphitheater. The passive park is beyond the lower part of the screen, the baseball fields to the top, and then the church is to the left. So what we have here is a playground and basketball court that are integrated, more so that it's not just a basketball court, it's flexible space for pavement games. Yes, you can play basketball there. You can also play soccer there. It's an urban court that can be used a lot of different ways. And then graphically, we've tried to make sure it's more integrated. It's not walled off, or fenced off and separate. So that there is a fence at the grade change here, and there's a fence to protect the playground from the driveway and parking, but otherwise the grade and walls create the enclosure. There's no other fences here other than behind this basket. So I'll walk you through. If you were coming down the stairs, to your right is an amphitheater. So if you would cluster 3 stairs together, that makes up the height of 1 amphitheater seat. So this is a place just to hang out. You can view kids that are playing here, or you can watch after your own kids, or if the splash pad isn't on, there could be a performance here. It could be a band or a singing group or whatever it is in this location. And even when the water is on, there's a clear path you can walk by here and not have to feel like you have to walk through the playground or through the water to get through the space. Beyond the splash pad is a net climber. We heard from you at the last meeting that you really wanted more climbing opportunities, and we think it's a great idea. We wanted to have something that's a little more transparent so that when you look in this direction, you can see through this element. That's pretty exciting, but we didn't want to block the view. We have 5 to 12 age equipment. I'll get into more specifics about the play elements of that and the features. The carousel is another piece of play equipment. We have the serpentine bench here. That is a separation between the court and the play, but it's also a place to sit and view in either direction. And it can be a play element as well. These are existing trees predominantly in these groves. We want to have as much shade as possible in the play area. And then this is the 2 to 5 age area with a seesaw and spring riders, and then shared swings here. The basketball court, which is high school size, has a goal on either end. We've shown a soccer goal here that could be here temporarily, just so there's more play opportunity here than just basketball. Foursquare can be built into the graphics here, and other games that kind of build on the creativity of the kids. So now, not just an aerial view, but from a similar perspective, we have the stairs, an amphitheater, the splash pad, the net climber. These are the reused sculptural elements from around the play area now. We've talked to the original artist, Ross Miller, and we're coordinating how to site these in a way that still are impactful and help with placemaking and have a presence in the site. Here's the 5 to 12 equipment and the carousel, which is a spinning play feature, and then the 2 to 5 play area here with the swings, and then the court and the baseball field beyond. So as if you were sitting on the amphitheater seats, the steps to your left, you get a better sense of the character and the size of the splash pad, those sculptural elements. The entry to the playground from the sidewalk where the parking lot is here. Here's the net climber, like I said, is very transparent. I should also talk about materials. The darker gray we think is asphalt. It could be concrete for the splash pad, and there's rubber surfacing for the play areas. And then the court would be asphalt with a color coating that's hopefully seamless in terms of the color relationship to the rubber surfacing, so it feels like it's one idea. So then you're seeing that curvilinear bench and then the basketball court, and that's the temporary soccer goal. Focusing in on the 5 to 12 play equipment, we've highlighted the different play elements as part of that. This is a fairly tall structure, so that there's some excitement with this slide. There's a bridge connecting 2 towers, and there's also some net climbing features. There's other slides. There's a hammock. There's also a pipe climber and a fireman's pole on the 2nd tower. So there's a lot of play activity here, and there's also a lot of capacity. So if you imagine the Tobin School and the Mission Hill Grammar School here, they can accommodate a lot of kids. And the net climber is off here to the side of that view. That's the basilica in the background. The 2 to 5 equipment, this is fairly large 2 to 5 play equipment in terms of its the area that it takes up. So it can accommodate a lot of kids and has a lot of variety in terms of its play value. So there's multiple slides. There's also a hammock here, a raised bridge, net climbers, pipe ladder. So these are all things that are working on the different skills that we're trying to improve with the younger kids, balance, upper body strength, lower body strength. And then there's also spring riders and a group seesaw, which can take as many as I think 8 kids. So this is a view from the entrance off the sidewalk closest to the parking lot. So the church is in the background, the stairs in the amphitheater are to the left, the baseball field's to the right. This is the basketball court. And so there's a separate entrance that if you were just coming to play basketball, you wouldn't have to go through the play equipment to go straight to the court. There's existing trees and new trees proposed so we can have as much shade as possible. And on that one fence that stops basketballs or other types of balls going toward the swings, we thought it's an opportunity to add silhouettes of basketball players just as a nice backdrop. And this is the 5 to 12 equipment here on the left. And last slide to show you is a view as if I were over the baseball field. Basketball court that can be used a lot of different ways. I mentioned it's got four square, an opportunity that could be used for soccer. Swings, 2 to 5 age equipment, 5 to 12, the net climber, stairs, amphitheater, and splash pad. Entrance directly to the court, an entrance to the play area, passive park, and existing and proposed trees, creating these groves of trees in the play area. So thank you for allowing me to run through that fairly quickly. We're happy to answer your questions and get more feedback.
Yeah, so we have a lot of people here. This is fantastic. And I am first going to open it up to Councillor Bach, who is here. If you want to say a few words, I am unmuting you. And I think.
Great. Thank you so much, Bea. Yeah, I just really wanted to thank you and the team for coming back and doing this additional meeting. You know, as I was at the last one, and as I think we all heard, and as I reflected on with you all, you know, I think that I think it was really important to kind of do this additional level of refinement. I know my office definitely heard, especially coming from a strong desire for a full court basketball court, and we know there's a real Mission Hill tradition on that, and I know and Kyle, you mentioned those silhouettes. You know, we've got some Mission Hill legends in the basketball world. It might be worth thinking about who those silhouettes are of. But I think it's really it's important to me and the community that this also feel like really like a playground that the little kids own, that they have this great space in. And I think, as you reflected, like some folks felt like it was sort of being fit around the edges in that prior design. And so I'm really appreciative of all the thought here. I also know we talked a lot about the fact that it's been important to the Mission Hill community to be able to move through this space. Like it's also a sort of gathering and passing place, and a place you see people. So I think we didn't focus on it as much in the last meeting, but I know that what we figured out was there were a bunch of walls sort of breaking up the space. So I really appreciate you guys making it so that that whole playground level is kind of a continuous area that people can walk around, and also thinking about the pavement games and the way to kind of make a court something that people can kick a ball around in, can hang out in, can race each other in, right? Because I think young people can find a lot of ways to use open space. So I just, you know, I want to thank everybody who's on the call. I know we've had a lot of engagement from neighbors, including a bunch of kind of creative suggestions about how to get everything fit in here. And yeah, it's one of the reasons I love representing this community, is how much everybody cares and thinks about and attends to our shared spaces like this one. And I really want to appreciate the team for coming. So I'm here, my aide Henry Santana is on, we'll be taking notes. I'm not here to offer all my playground feedback, with the one exception that if you guys could just tell us a little bit about where folks would be sitting for the 2 to 5 play area. I was a little less clear of if I was a carer where I would sit on that. But yeah, just really, again, appreciate the team. And, you know, one more piece of context for people is that, as folks may remember, we got this $400,000 from the state that let the team extend to include the field, which I was really grateful for, because a lot of what I was hearing early on in this process was, why doesn't it include the field? The field is what needs the most work. And so it was really good for the state to give us that extra money to include the field. It has put the whole process on a bit of a timeline, because the state has a deadline for the grant to be used, and we have to do the whole project by then. And so I know that initially that was the concern on the team side about having another meeting. And I really appreciate them stretching and leaning into it, and all the thought that's gone in between the last meeting and this one. So thank you so much, Bea.
Thank you so much, Kenzie. That is good information to include. I had not added that piece about the grant. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
I can also I can answer her question about seating for the 2 to 5.
Yep.
Each one of these groves has the ability, and I think it's obscured by some of the trees, an opportunity to have benches on that edge, so they'll be in shade and you'll have multiple vantage points of the 2 to 5.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Okay, so just to give you a little background on the Zoom process today, I am trying to drive the Zoom. We don't have the usual staff person that we do, so if I seem a little scattered, I apologize for that, but I'm trying to sort of do a few things at once here. So we are going to Q&A first, because there were 2 questions that entered while we were giving our presentation. Serena asks, when is the renovation going to start? That is a great question. Because we were sort of trying to get so quickly to show you our design, we didn't go through our schedule. And right now our schedule is that we would begin construction at the beginning of 2022, I think it was, and we would be open for summer of, basically open for summer of 2022. We need to have this substantially completed by May of 2022. So essentially we will have a playground open and ready for you in the summer of 2022. So construction would start basically making the early part of 2022 off limits, but and then let's see. Zialina Marsan says, when will the park be done? Okay, I guess I just answered that question. John Duthit says, fantastic design, much better. Thank you, John. That's so good to hear. Okay, so now we are going to go to some raised hands. And Katie Genovese, I am going to allow you to talk. That's pushing a button that's allowing you to talk. So I think that should be. Yeah,
Hi, thank you.
there we go.
I just want to say, I was one of the people at previous meetings that had a lot of concerns about the basketball-driven design. I will say that this is, I think, a much more graceful way to get the basketball into this design. I think this does feel a lot more cohesive. My reservations about basketball being part of the park remain. I presume this is a fairly done deal. I'm grateful that a separate entrance was put in for basketball, because my primary concern here is that, I've seen, for instance, the Fenway basketball courts and how they're used. And they're used by adults. They're talking in a very adult way. It's not real conducive to being right next to children playing. And so, that sort of thing happening. That sort of a thing happening right here at our playground has been pretty much my biggest concern about the basketball. Overall, I love that there's that extra entrance with the gate. I'm not 100% confident people are going to go out of their way for that, but I'm grateful that it's an option. And overall, I think this is definitely a much more cohesive design. It's nice. I appreciate that all those fences were taken out. I think that it's nice to have it this large, more integrated space, and there are a lot of really nice features. So overall, I do feel it's an improvement. I wish there was a different place to put a basketball court, but this is definitely a real strong improvement over the 2 previous designs shown, I think.
Thank you so much, Katie. I'm glad that you think that way, because I definitely remember at the previous meeting, you were not that happy. So that means a lot to hear that our changes have a little bit won you over. Going quickly back to the Q&A, Nika Elugardo says, can we make sure the silhouettes of basketball players are gender diverse? If possible, also a wheelchair player. That is a great idea, and we can definitely do that.
Yep. And actually the silhouettes we have on there are gender diverse.
Ooh, that's cool. I did not know that. But we can also include perhaps some different diversity of ability as well, because we don't have a wheelchair player. So that is great. So we're going to go to participants again. I have Allison Fultinas here. I'm going to allow you to unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Allison. Yes, I agree. It's a much more cohesive design, and it makes a lot more sense than what we saw a few weeks ago. A few more questions, and I did want to follow up on that seating for the area where the 2 to 5-year-old equipment is, because that to me is the primary place where you want caregivers to have convenient seating with eyes on that equipment. So just to make sure there's a good place for people to settle down and park their stroller or whatever over there. My follow-up questions, a drinking fountain or a bottle filler, I think was on the list. I don't know if it's in the plan for either the passive park or the playground area.
We will definitely have one on the playground. We haven't actually positioned it yet, but we will have one.
Okay, and related to the passive park, I had made the suggestion for historic looking curved benches like they have by the boathouse at the pond in Jamaica Plain. This is a historic park here, also on Tremont Street. So I don't know if you were able to use those because it looks like you have one curved bench, but there's no back to it. So just to follow up again on that request for a nice historic looking curved bench with sides and backs would be great. And also making sure that some of the seating is within, is underneath shade from the trees. And I just wanted to ask a couple more questions related to access from Smith Street. With the walkway coming up along the field there, is there, along the outfield gate fence, is there a gate into the field from that fence? Can someone walk into the baseball field from the fence area?
You can walk into the field here, here, and here.
Okay, so right where your pointer is. And will there be some crosswalks or on the driveway to indicate where people can safely cross the driveway?
That's something we'll have to look at, because it's not officially a street, but because it's a school, I think there are things we can study and do.
Okay, okay, great. And coming up from, continuing along that walkway from Smith Street, you can enter into the basketball court area, and then the second entrance is into the playground, right? Is that, okay, so you could do a crosswalk up there by, so it's across from the parking area?
Yep,
Just
that's the
just a
park.
follow-up idea. Thank you so much. It's definitely an improvement. I do wonder about the teal blue color, though. I'm not sure if that's going to be the final color choice on the rubber surfacing. Have you
We
decided?
like it a lot, in terms of, a contemporary material, but also still feeling appropriate next to a lot of the historic materials, the earth tones and things.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, thank
If
you so much.
if you have thoughts, Allison, on what you think would be a good color, we're happy to hear it because obviously this is in design. So
Right. I'm not sure what the manufacturers, what the choices are. I'm familiar with the DeWitt Playground renovation, and that has so many different colors in it. But I think it is important for your unified concept to keep one solid color here. And hopefully you might have to figure out the paint choice for the asphalt first before you figure out what will match with the rubber surfacing. If you want to keep it all flowing together. But thank you so much for improving this from what we had before. One last question with the splash pad. I don't know if the lighting will be a feature that gets worked on, or the colored lighting that wasn't working right now.
Yeah, we actually had a meeting with Ross Miller yesterday, and about reusing the sculptural elements, and we'd be turning off the water part of those, but we could look at the lighting, so that's something we're still looking at.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much.
okay. So I'm going to go back to the Q&A. So let's see. John Duthit says, can you say what the 4 lines are by the right field / first base foul line where the ball field meets the wall of the playground level? Are those contour lines?
Here, yes. Yeah, that slopes up today and we're maintaining that slope. Same thing here. There's a slope on this side.
That is a good question because it does sort of look a little bit like terracing or something like that. So thank you for the clarification, John. That's helpful for everybody. Mary Alice Sandy asks, once the plan is finalized, will we have access to the slideshow to share with our community? Yes, we can definitely post the slideshow on our website where you can download it as a PDF and you can share it. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, I am going to, I think Nika Elgardo has had her hand up, so I'm going to unmute you and you should be able to talk.
Hi, thank you. This is State Rep Nika Elgardo, and I wanted to tell you, join in with my thanks. I have been in recovery and missed the first 2 meetings as I was recovering from an accident. So I'm especially grateful to my colleague, Councillor Kinsey Bach, and to my new aide, Frank Mendoza, for updating me, particularly on the last meeting. And I'm just so delighted, just wanted to add that in. I'm so delighted at the way you were able to unify the different concerns that were raised in a final concept that I think does capture the needs of the community and the diversity of the community. And it's so important for the youth to have a gathering space, not just the little ones to play, but historically, I'm African American in Black and Brown communities. The basketball court is a place of organizing. It's a place of diversion. It's a place of healing. And I'm really grateful that you were able to incorporate all of the elements that you were, and just committed to helping in any way that I can from the state side.
Thank you so much. And I apologize for not knowing that you were an elected. I joined Parks in June, so I'm still totally a newbie for this. So thank you and welcome to the meeting. And thank you for saying that. That's really nice to have your support.
You most certainly shouldn't apologize for that. If anything, it would be my fault for not having reached out yet. But here we are getting to know each other. So
yeah, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Okay. So let's see. Maggie Cohn, I'm going back to the Q&A for a second. Maggie Cohn says, I agree that this is a big improvement. I like the multi-use function of the basketball court area. Hooray, thank you. Marianne says, good location for the court. Is there a way to keep someone from using the splash courts during events? So I think you're saying if someone sets up a musical jam session in the splash area, can we disable it somehow? I believe the answer to that is yes. Okay, good. Let's go back to some raised hands. I'm going to allow Mary Alice Sandy to talk.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I am Mary Alice Sandy. I'm one of the teachers from the Tobin School, and I think this just looks so beautiful. I'm really excited. I know that the students are going to be super excited, especially knowing that they were part of the planning process. I think it's really powerful that they were able to speak up about basketball and that you responded. So thank you. I really like the exercise area that you added to the field and that walkway. I think that will give us different kinds of opportunities to exercise without having to go on the grass when it's raining, for example. I like the fact that there is now more, there's a wider area between that passive area and the playground. During the last renovation, I think that's when you added the staircase, and now it looks like there's more space there to connect the two. And I think that seating area will be really useful in lots of different ways. The curbs that used to be around that basketball court were really dangerous. So I like that it seems like everything is kind of flattened out now, which I think will be much safer as students or children, families move from one area to another. If they're running, it will still be safe for them. I was a little concerned about the speed of having a full basketball court, but I think the way that you've done it allows for lots of different activities. And yeah, I'm really excited and I can't wait for for our community to be able to use it. So thank you very much.
That's so great. Thank you so much, Mary Alice. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. I'm going to go back quick to Q&A. We've got Ms. G from Mission Grammar, I think. She said, would love if the silhouettes could be people from Mission Hill with their names or some sort of indication of who they are. So that is great. And I'm trying to think of if you guys could email me with names of people that you think would be good to represent. We can then look up their images and see if there's some way that we could work with that. Not being from Mission Hill myself, I don't have a good read on that. So please email me. I can, let's see, I don't even know. We have that up at some point in the presentation. So at the end of this presentation, we put in my email address. Everyone can let me know, please. Saredo says, regarding the swing area, is there going to be a suitable and safe amount of rubber surface behind the swings, or that as a senior, I have a safe footing? Presently, it is an unsafe amount. So maybe Kyle, could you speak to that? Or
Yep. So all of this space around the swings here is a rubber surface, and the playground manufacturers dictate the use zone, the safety zone. So we have that plus more. And it's all that rubber surface. What's there today is not great because you have rubber kind of leading to each play equipment, but then it's wood chips everywhere else. So we will have no wood chips. It'll only be that rubber material. There'll be no quick drop-offs at the edge of, you know, these pathways. It'll all be one uniform level.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Marianne asks, will all the patterns on the floor of the basketball court affect playing? What do you think, Kyle?
So the typical striping for play, 3-point line, the foul line, top of the key, the paint in general is all there. You know, what you would need for a regulation court. The graphic has nothing to do with play other than we've incorporated other play ideas, you know, Foursquare, and we're hoping that kids will use their imagination to kind of follow these lines that connect the different areas here. So while, you know, this is very apparent from this level, you know, I can go to an eye level, it's not going to be a distraction for people playing basketball.
But that is an interesting question to bring up, and we'll certainly keep that in mind when we're actually thinking of these dimensions, and you know, we'll look at that. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to allow Michael Gordon to unmute yourself. You've had your hand raised.
Hi, Michael Gordon. I'm a teacher at the Tobin School as well. And I just want to express gratitude on behalf of our students. I've been discussing this with our students, at least one of whom was at the meeting today, Zariah, if you're still here, hello. And there were an enthusiastic support of the full court basketball court. So on behalf of them and our school community, just want to express our gratitude.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for getting your school involved in this. All of this is really important to us. And so it's really good to hear that you guys feel heard, and thank you. Okay. So going back to Q&A, Efrada Tades asks, is the park only for Mission Hill? No, it is for everyone. Obviously, if you live in Mission Hill, you can use it whenever you want, but this is not a closed park. This is open City of Boston public park. So if you don't live in Mission Hill, you can still come here and enjoy it. Saredo asks two things. Has anyone suggested a tire swing? And notes that they're glad to see all of the unused dirt area will be well used. So I don't know if anyone suggested a tire swing. Do we have a tire swing? I don't think we do.
We do have a group swing.
Group swing.
So it's the same idea. Yeah, just not actually a tire.
Okay, so I think Mary Alice Sandy has her hand raised still. I'm not sure. I will allow you to talk and unmute yourself if you have further questions.
Sorry, I just lowered it. That was up from before.
Okay. And then Allison, I'm not sure if you are And if you have your hand raised, I'm allowing you to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that
I
from
didn't
before?
lower my,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
It's probably something I should be doing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And just again to say how much better this is than what we saw before. So really, thank you for working hard on this.
Thank you. Okay. So Nika Elugardo says the Tobin has a basketball hall of fame on the wall. Good to know. Check with that. It has Mission Hill basketball legends, men and women, I believe. Okay. Kenzie wanted me to say that Nika and Kenzie would be happy to receive people's suggestions on Mission Hill folks, who to honor, who's appropriate, with regards to the silhouettes, and then they can share them with us. You guys may have Kenzie and Nika's contact information more easily. So whatever vehicle is the easiest for you to communicate this, everyone is all ears. So Soreto says, good about the swing surface. When pushing my granddaughter, I have worried that I might sprain or break a foot with the wrong move. So good. I'm glad you will feel secure in this. We're definitely going to make this a smooth surface that is accessible and safe. Absolutely. Henry asks, is this an open playground? Yes, this will be an open playground. The gates that we are going to have on it are not locked gates of any kind. It's just something to make sure that a toddler isn't going to walk out into the, into the street or something like that. Marianne asks, can a child in a wheelchair play on any equipment? The answer to that is no. We have some accessible features on the play equipment. If the design team can talk about that, perhaps in a little bit more specificity, that would be a help.
So in general, there are federal and state rules that dictate the percentage of play elements in play equipment that have to be accessible. Some have to be at ground level, and others there's a transfer station to get someone onto the equipment. So if you kind of work your way around this, all these things that kind of meet the ground are ground elements. So seesaw, spring rider, the net bridge pipe, so it's only these elevated things that wouldn't be accessible in the same, sorry, I went the wrong way. On the 5 to 12 age equipment, there are a number of things that are ground mounted, ground based activities, but then there's the elevated activities, but we will meet and exceed what's required by the state and the federal government for those accessibility guidelines.
So I hope that answers your question, Marianne. John Dufit says, I believe you said the soccer goal is just an example of something that could be moved there. I know at American Legion Playground in East Boston has a small football court with nets built in. Would it be possible to include something like that into the wall or fence there? That's a good point. And I think it's something where we are going to talk to perhaps the Tobin School and Mission Grammar School to understand if they have nets that they would want to bring out. If perhaps the community center has nets that they want to bring out. Point being that if equipment is there already in people's possession, we don't want to install something that's fixed just because it might be an issue if you wanted to, I don't know, play basketball or foursquare. It allows the space more flexibility if we don't install something permanent. But that being said, that's a good point, and it's good to know that you were interested in that. So if they don't have nets, then we would certainly consider it. We would look at that. So thank you for bringing that up. Let's see. So Nika has shared contact information. I'm going to see if I can. I don't think everyone can see this Q&A. Pretty sure they can't. Anyway, I'm going to try and figure out a way to share that. Allison Poltinas has her hand up.
Hi, B, again. Just going back to your description of the construction schedule, it sounds really fast. It's going to start the winter of 2022 and substantially completed by May. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
I may have said it wrong. So we need to be complete by May of 2022.
Right.
And we will be beginning construction in early 2022 or late fall 2021. So it's going to be about an 8-month duration of construction, maybe a little less. But I mean, this is the nature of this wonderful, generous grant that we have, that it keeps us moving along as quickly as we can. And, you know, these grants are, we depend on them at another, you know, other parks receive grants like this as well from the same source. And so, you know, Parks Department is very grateful for that. It's a wonderful source of revenue and allows us to address many more things than we otherwise would. So,
Well, this is great. I just wanted to clarify what time period the playground actually would be closed down and the field not usable. So it sounds like we're not going to miss a spring or summer, actually. That construction is going to start over the fall and winter and be complete within 8 months. It sounds like the field
cool.
actually could be usable in 2022, possibly.
The summer of 2022, it should be open.
But that's, but it's a turf field, so it might have to take a while to get established. I'm just speculating when the field might be closed. It's just thinking in the future here about construction. So you have the construction plans pretty much ready to go out to bid then this month, right?
No, they're going to be getting ready to go out to bid in 3 months. We have basically a very rapid turnaround to go from this stage where we have our lovely, beautiful renderings to construction documents and specifications. And so we're looking at, what is it? March, April, and May. At the end of May, we're going to have our package ready to go out to bid.
Okay.
So it's lightning, and it's like, we are incredibly grateful to KZLA for being very nimble and talented to handle this intensity, because I have been in the private sector before, and it's it's hard. So thank you guys. So there's a question here in the Q&A. Mary Alice says, I think that if there is the structure for something like a soccer net, our school would be open to purchasing nets to use. Okay, good to know. Saredo says, your design is a great improvement over what we now have. However, the seating is inadequate for those of us who have back issues. No support. All right, that's a really great point, and we can certainly include more benches with backs. You know, I definitely know that as they're sitting down in a bench that doesn't have armrests and getting up from a bench that doesn't have armrests can also be difficult. So I think that we're definitely going to pay attention to providing an equal amount of both long linear seating and also long linear seating perhaps that has armrests and backs as well. So thank you for bringing that up. Mort Amadifar asks, is there nighttime lighting in any of the areas? Design team, do you want to respond?
Go back a few pages, because we're really not changing where we have lighting, because there's quite a bit of lighting in the passive park that will remain. It'll be adjusted based on any changes to the pathways, but there's good light levels here. There is light basically spilling from the Tobin School along the driveway here. And there's light along Smith Street, but no lights of the field and no plans to light the field. And then the playground, generally Boston Parks does not light playgrounds. And the only light that existed was the theatrical lighting around the splash pad. So we wouldn't be introducing lighting in the playground.
All right. Are there? Okay, Allison has raised her hand. You are allowed to talk, Allison. Talking is permitted.
I,
There we go.
I tried to lower my hand, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll allow a couple more minutes of people to think, to look at the plan. Is there any other comments or questions? We have 21 attendees at this point, so we're losing a few numbers. We've got a couple more minutes, so we'll just hang for a couple minutes, and if people have other questions or comments, you can raise your hand or you can type them in the Q&A. All right, Kenzie has raised her hand.
Thanks. Just since we have a second, I just wanted to amplify a couple of things. One was just the fitness equipment that's outdoors. I know we've just seen a ton of people using that kind of thing in the pandemic. And I think that it's really, yeah, it's unlocked the relevance of that kind of stuff. So grateful for it. Want to strongly second Cerrito on the need for back support. I'm only 31, but still when I'm sitting on a playground, it definitely makes things better. So I think with the, obviously with the benches that are sort of delineating the space between the court and the playground, there's a good reason to make those kind of flat so you've got visibility. But I think comfortable seating, you know, and thinking about that seating in the Grove with the 2 to 5s that people can lean back against is great. And I do agree with Allison that if there's a way to kind of think about a somewhat more historic bench design with a back up on the passive park level, I think that would be great. But those are just little seconds from having been listening to conversation. Also appreciate adding the net climber and the creativity of making that, you know, enable a visibility line and also add that use for the older kids. So just since this will be my last time speaking, just really want to thank the project team again for all your work on this. So we hugely appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you for your support and working with us. Obviously, it is incredibly important to parks that we design something that the community wants and feels is a good reflection of their thoughts and their wishes. So thank you for helping us sort of set this up. And you know, thanks to everybody on this, at this meeting, on this call for giving us your thoughts and your time, because it feels good knowing that we can go forward with this plan and that people are going to be excited for the playground to open. So.
And be a major shout out to my aide, Henry Santana, as well, who has been talking to lots of people at this playground and grew up at this playground and has just been a huge help to me through this too. So,
yay, Henry. And Cerrito says thank you. So I think it's 3:55, and I think we can wrap this up. Once again, just because this is the end of the meeting doesn't mean conversation is stopped. If you have any questions, email me. Contact info is perhaps at the end of, I'm going to put it in the chat. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Project manager down at the bottom left corner. So please let me know your thoughts. Thank you for coming to this meeting. We very much appreciate it. Hope everybody takes care, and thanks again.
thank you.